Every day, they turn back the hands of time on Cherokee Street.
So this is a 1934 Chandler & Price Platen press.
And Eric Woods wouldn't have it any other way.
We use old presses from as far back as the 1890s. We still set type one letter at a time by hand. We do woodcuts to get our print image from. We mix all of our own inks. So we do things in a sort of old style.
Woods is a modern-day Johannes Gutenberg, and his Firecracker Press combines contemporary ideas with old-world ways.
We do a lot of the design work on the computer. I think that colliding in those two worlds, sort of the old and the new coming together, makes something new and fresh and interesting.
Once they wrap their heads around a concept, and before they wrap their hands around a crank, the team takes care to carve out the idea.
With the woodcuts, for example, you get the artistic touch of whoever carves that piece of wood. You get the wood grain, you get the idiosyncrasies of knots that may not always be where you want them to be, but you have to sort of go with it. I describe it as drawing with a pen as opposed to drawing with a pencil. Like, you're invested, you're committed when you're cutting wood.
And with the wood block and the type set in place, it's on to the time machine. If these letterpress printing presses could talk the stories they might tell, because some of them sat unused in empty basements, warehouses, and antique stores, until Firecracker found them and gave them new life. But the plates brought an interesting skill set for some of the employees.
Everything that we do is backwards before it gets printed, so we have to learn to read backwards. We have to learn to see imagery backwards, so sort of anticipating what's going to happen when it gets flipped over.
That's when an aha moment can quickly convert into an uh-oh.
And so you can automatically see what you've done, what all that buildup is for, and there's a real instant gratification there in that way. And if you find out if you made a mistake, you got it correct, or if there's something you've got to make an adjustment for.
It's an elemental process. Wood, metal, ink, and elbow grease coming together. A time-honored tradition colliding with modern times. There's a character keeping his eyes on commuters in West County.
My little girl, Ella, wanted to take it to her school for show and tell.
Meet Rob Terranova, the man who's created a Cars co-star from scratch.
I don't know, I've probably seen it a couple hundred times. I thought it'd be interesting to have an old tow truck to go with our auto repair place.
So Rob recruited his crew at West County Auto Repair and fixed their eyes on making a movie icon.
It was kind of trial and error, cutting the front off and doing a little piece at a time.
I got it one piece at a time, and it didn't cost me a dime. You'll know it's me when I come through your town.
And like Dr. Frankenstein, Tomater's makers had to weld their four-wheeler together to give it a new life.
It's a mixture, it's a 57 truck, and then we cut the front off and made all that face on there so it looks like Tomater.
Coming up with all the older vintage pieces, the bed for the tow truck and finding the old bed that almost looked like a Tomater.
And then the teeth are just sheet metal bent around to make all that.
And the project that took 2 months to make is getting drivers to do a double take. Looky-loos on Lindbergh are stopping in every day for a picture.
I went down 2 exits and turned around. My granddaughter just loves this thing, and McQueen, she has everything McQueen. I don't know what McQueen's first name is.
Lightning McQueen.
She loves this stuff. Tomater.
You go get it, buddy.
Or Tomater, depending on if Disney takes a dim view of one man's drive and determination to design something his daughter would love.
We actually tried to contact him in the beginning to see if there was a problem with it and could never get a response from anyone.
Rob's real-life version isn't generating him any income, but he's paid back by the number of smiles and chuckles he gets from kids of all ages.
Yeah, you can make one that looks just like it and fool a large portion.
See, with a little elbow grease, some sweat equity, and ka-chow, you've got the makings for movie magic. Life, like any good card game, is always better when you've got the right partner.
I think she's really in love.
Oh, yeah, I am. He's a keeper. He really is.
Take Jean Schmidt and Elizabeth Tucker. The two met as neighbors at Our Lady of Life Retirement Center.
And his brother got him a beautiful chair for his little office with his computer and everything. And he'd always say, I want you to come over and see my chair. And I thought, said the spider to the fly. I finally gave in and said, oh yeah, I'd like to see your chair. It is a wonderful chair. I said, do you come with it?
The rest is his and her story. But it took Cupid's arrow 80 years for these lovebirds to land. Gene had been married for 56 years before his wife died from cancer, and Elizabeth had been a nun.
When I left the convent, I didn't really have an inclination. I never met anyone that I truly respected enough to marry him.
After years of saying I won't and I don't, everything changed last December when Elizabeth had a stroke.
Within a month or so after she had the stroke, I was, walking her hall, and she told me she was in love. And I don't remember the words, but she was going to marry me. And I thought, well, she's having a stroke. She'll get over it and say, my God, what did I do,
But once fully recovered, Elizabeth didn't refute her feelings.
I think the encouragement, the companionship, making sure she ate properly because she was not eating, then making her get out of the apartment and walk down the hall, just even to go to church was a fairly good walk for them.
And it was here at the chapel on Valentine's Day that Gene decided to pop the question in the most traditional way.
I got down on the 2 knees and proposed to her. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get up for this. But she said yes.
Yes, for the first time in her 87 years, Elizabeth Tucker will walk down the aisle and say I do this September. And in the days leading up to the big day, the two will continue getting to know their new life partner.
And so we kind of know each other's idiosyncrasies. I mean, I know I don't have as many, but...
The couple won't cohabitate until after they're wed, when they'll move into a bigger apartment. And after all the falderall of the formal day...
Day after, I'll be 89. I wanted to get married before I got old.
There'll be a full house as these octogenarians take the plunge. After all, when the cards are stacked in your favor, you're bound to have a winning hand to play. Every Wednesday morning, Bob Gill and his group of airmen take flight in an unusual fashion.
All of these guys have the same interest that I do. It's not much fun to go and fly by yourself.
Or when the weather conditions can make you wilt, which is why these pilots prefer their aviation indoors.
There's something magic about flying a small little airplane, and there's something magic about flying inside of a gym.
Like here at the Concordia Lutheran Church, where there aren't the obstacles one would find outdoors.
Updrafts, the currents, the thermals, the winds, the slopes, all kinds of things that are challenges.
I just love the airplanes, model airplanes. I love to see planes fly.
Now you're just playing here.
Yes, this is called a hover.
For this band of brothers, the right way is Wednesdays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And all you need are some charged batteries and some maneuvering skills to join these mini Lindies. You can thank your modern-day cell phone technology for making this hobby more accessible and lighter for everyone. For instance, this is everything in the palm of my hand. That's your modern-day plane, and it weighs less than half an ounce. Half the fun for these fearless flyers is recapturing their youth, like Kilburn Adams, who rebuilt his RC plane from 7th grade.
It was originally called an American Boy. It was made by the Scientific Model Company, and it was about half this size.
And what's the key to keeping your itsy-bitsy airship afloat?
I think about where I want to go, and then I fly the plane to that point. And I'm trying to always keep my mind ahead of the plane. Like I'll be thinking about the turn that's down at the end right now, what I want the plane to be doing. I'm always about a half a length above, in front of the plane.
Now that's an FAA violation.
Yes, yeah it is.
Child on the runway.
Yeah.
And even if you are all thumbs, stupid hammers, you too can rise and reach new heights. Thankfully, foam and fiber don't come crashing down too hard.
But to be able to control something that close and have the confidence to do it, something that you designed yourself and built yourself, gives me a great deal of satisfaction.
He's right. There is something about soaring, even if it is over some bleachers.
So what did you learn when you were flying?
Don't crash into the rafters.
Some pretty plain and simple advice.